I know you're listening. You're here because something isn't right. Something feels twisted, upside down. Things don't add up. Hello, human. Welcome to our twisted universe. In this episode, we talk with psychic medium Seth Michael. Seth is with White Light Paranormal Insight in Camas, Washington. He also leads walking tours with Camas Haunted Walking Tours and is the star of the documentary All Around Us.
Hi, and welcome to our Twisted Universe. Today we're going to be talking with Seth Michael. He is a psychic medium and a co-founder of White Light Paranormal. How you doing, Seth?
Doing great. How are you two?
Good.
Great.
Long time no see.
Yeah, it has been a while. We got a lot to talk about to catch up.
Oh yeah, we were wondering what you've been up to lately.
Lately, I've changed some things in my life, but am really looking forward to talking about the things that I am and am doing. Like we have an Oregon Ghost Conference coming up, and we have a documentary out, and hoping to touch on a lot of that.
Yeah, tell us about the documentary. That sounds incredible.
Oh yeah, it's called All Around Us, and people can find it through allaroundusfilm.com is the website, and they can stream it for $7. The director will send them the link, and or you could get a DVD through that website as well. And we go through some different topics that not everybody covers, such as a lot on the empath ability, where people can feel other people's feelings, what we believe kids sometimes go through with possibly, experiencing spirits and not knowing how to process that. Some tips on how to protect them and help it. We talk about a little bit of mental health in there versus spiritual, seeing spirits, or is it mental health issues. We touch on mediumship. We investigated a little bit of places downtown Camas here, and so the hotel's in there, an antique shop. It's not a thorough explanation of what we did, but it's just kind of scenes, and we talk about earthbound spirits crossing. Not everything's a negative or a demon. So there's just some of the topics that we cover.
I haven't had a chance to catch that. I'm really looking forward to streaming that video for sure.
Oh, cool.
I don't think I have a DVD player, but
Oh, you could just stream it on your computer.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
So-
we stayed at the hotel, so I'm curious what you got to
What was it? The
tell us
Camas
about
Hotel?
the hotel.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
When were you there?
Oh, it's been,
a couple of years.
yeah, 3-4 years ago at least.
I was wondering if it was haunted. It felt a little heavy.
Yeah, we did experience some things there. A funny story was before we investigated, Jill and I stayed there, and we were just sitting there, and Jill was really thirsty. But so the spirit came through, and he would look like old time kind of suit, and apparently I believe he was the old owner, so way back when. And he said, if there's anything, is there anything I can get you? That's what I heard him say in my like spirit hearing, I guess you could call it, or clairaudience. And I heard him say that. And then I told Jill, and she said, yeah, I need a Diet Coke. And he had no idea what that was. That kind of gave me a confirmation to myself that, yeah, I'm really experiencing a spirit, because I didn't think that, you know what I mean?
Who would?
So it's not something I thought about ahead of time. It was just a response that I believe I heard. So it was just interesting because they didn't have Diet Coke back
Oh,
Right.
no.
then. So
I
it
would
made sense. Like, oh, okay. And then he just went back out through the wall.
That's so awesome. Yeah, they have some neat living quarters and up there it's like kitchens and
Yeah.
it's an interesting place. I think it would be really fascinating to dig into that through the video.
Yeah, well, we don't go through a lot of that, but we do touch a lot of it on our tour. We also do a walking tour. This last year, we actually did the tour within a sit-down kind of place, and we showed pictures. But in our walking tours that Jill kind of headed up, we talk about the kind of the dark things that they experienced there for a while. Like they had a hard time going to the basement. They want to run back up. They felt pushed down the stairs. There was an umbrella incident where the umbrellas were like left out, but they weren't. We were in a box, but then all of a sudden they come downstairs and they're out on the floor or something like that. It was just a lot of odd things. Glass of water would like go from one end of the table to the next, and they couldn't debunk that. They tried to level it and everything, and or I think it was a glass of wine actually. So yeah, it was just things like that. But we worked on the basement. So our team is a little different than a lot of teams you'll see on TV, where they'll say, "Oh, here's what we got. We heard EVP. We got light anomalies. We got this, and this. Looks like you may have something paranormal. Bye bye." And
Yeah,
so
that's
what
not
we do,
helpful.
no, I mean, it could be helpful in some areas, but in some areas it's not because there's no resolve really done with
Right.
what we believe that a lot of times it's human spirits or some sort of a spirit trying to communicate or not knowing where they are or not knowing what to do. So we try to connect with that being and then just remind them of options or steer them to where their ancestors could come in or and then get help. Like today, I was helping somebody over the phone. We call it a resolve rather than a cleansing because it's like trying to get, not necessarily getting rid of anything. It's more like if they don't choose to move on and the client's okay with it, they can stay. So it's more like ground rules, like don't come up behind me in the dark, don't come into the bedroom when the door is closed. You can stay here, but these are so we go through that with them anyway. Yeah, today was pretty awesome. That there was a house that was known somebody had committed suicide, and they had a lot of different activity, garbage disposal turning on, like water turning on, a lot of things. And then when I was connecting with them, I felt sorrow. I felt like he was feeling like he was stuck
Hmm.
and in this feeling, and it was like just a cycle going around and around. A lot of people have gone through that. They just have that experience themselves. Like something would happen and we ruminate over and over, especially when we're in depression. I know that that's been the case for me, in past in the depression where I would just cycle over and over in the same thing and feel worse and worse. So this is just us reaching out in a human way and saying, hey, you're safe. You don't have to have this anymore. Your problems are no longer your problems. They're different opportunities now, and you can learn how what happened. You can reach a state where you'll get all the help and love you need and deserve, kind of. So that's how we approach it, and many times it's very rarely where we do that process and that their activity continues. Now there might be layers, there might be something underneath that then we have to work on the next thing, so, or they choose not to go because we don't force. We do have people on our team that work with negative. I'm not real comfortable working with negative because it takes a lot of energy. The two that mediums that do it, they're more intuitive. They're using different abilities, so it's not going through their filter of emotions where it would for me, and it kind of can screw you up. You got to really be on your game. But they process through thoughts rather than emotions, so they have more of a natural protection, I feel,
That
things
makes a
to
lot of
happen. They
sense.
can push things out. Yeah. So, but we don't push humans. It's just when something is just really thick, heavy, won't leave, and that's when they do their process of that. So,
So you're saying mostly when you go to investigate, you're coming across crossover spirits that were human. Have you ever come in contact with something that wasn't?
yes, and it's why we started the team. There believe there was like three spirits in Jill's house, And that's around the time that I met her online. So we were just talking on the phone. I was 2,000 miles away. And she said, there's something weird going on in my house. And I said, well, I'm feeling like three spirits and about a Ouija board in a base or in a closet. And she goes, yeah, no, I have a Ouija board, but I never use it. And I don't think anyone else did. She talked to the kids. Well, they were teenagers and their boyfriends had actually used in the closet. And I mean, that's a whole other topic on itself, Ouija boards, because some people believe they can use them safely and some don't want to touch them. So it all depends on, many factors, I think. But I think they did it unprotected and it's possible they opened up a door. So that's what I had experienced. So we had some experiences with that, which were very harrowing. It's the first time I heard things outside of my head, marbles dropping and laughing, like the ha ha ha, when and no one was upstairs, and the dogs weren't upstairs, and thorough search. There were no animals, other animals in the walls. It was just, it was, and it takes a toll out of you. So when we got it out, we worked really hard. I played videos from YouTube about, they just talked to the spirits about getting them out. I played it over and over, and we went in there and worked on it. We used our own prayer for it, and finally it felt better in there. So, and then Jill said, well, look, we should do a team and help people with having these problems. So, and then when we did start it, when our first case was a negative entity, but then there were a lot of earthbound spirits we found, and that was more my niche, is the earthbound spirits. The spirits, we call them that more like ghosts. They planes, so they're more able to move things and manipulate things. And this is on my beliefs, experiences, and truths based on anyway. So because you can prove only so much, and the rest is just, for me, what feels right and what's based on, oh, I keep seeing this, so this is the correlation I'm making. So like with negative spirits, to me they feel different than a human spirit.
Oh yeah.
Radically different.
Yeah.
Experienced it.
you know
Yeah. Do you know what happens when you cross over? Like, what happens to a human spirit? Like you pass away, and then what's the next step?
Well, I can't say for sure. Based on my beliefs, experiences, and truths, there is it really depends on the person's state of mind too. I believe a lot of times, in my experience with our body, and no matter what, like if it's terminal illness, I found, and they're expecting it and they've made peace with it, it's a very quick transition a lot of times. Like my mom, and I say this in the movie too, she had just passed, she was in hospice, so we were all expecting it, and her eyes were open, and I was just kind of going in, like looking at her eyes. It was just a weird thing, and all of a sudden I heard behind me, clear as day, I'm not in there anymore. She was broke the high jump record. My sister was looking at me like, what the hell are you, what? Like, you didn't hear that?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, and then some, like in a case of like a altered state of mind, or sometimes suicide when they're just not thinking straight. The depression could cause that too, or a mental diagnosis could cause other things where they would keep experiencing on there on that side and don't really realize that they passed sometimes. So it helps to hear that. Funerals help, because then they're like, okay, I must be passed away, because they're talking about me. I'm watching myself be ready for a casket or get ready for cremation, but they're not. It's not always a very scary thing. In my experience, if they're open to it and they're not in this shut-in state of mind where they're shut down cycle of hard, difficult emotions, they're open to seeing their moms, grandmas. Sometimes people believe it's the angels, or it could, be anything. A lot of times with their own belief system, Mother Mary, as people have it described. So, or Jesus, or um, ISIS, or it all depends on the person, I think. And so then they don't feel alone. But when they're stuck, they're not exactly stuck. It's just more of that state of mind where they believe that they just don't see the door out. It just helps sometimes to hear it, even if like if somebody's listening to this and they go, well, you know, my brother committed suicide and I'm afraid he's stuck. You could always say something out loud like, hey, just so you know, you're okay now. You're safe. You don't have these issues anymore. You're right. You can go to the next step. All you have, you know, a loved one. So like today, when I was talking to that spirit who we believe that committed suicide there, a dog came over, and I didn't feel it was a dog that he had when he was living there. I felt it was a dog from his youth. So it was the happiness that came with it. And
Oh,
that me changed his vibration. So soon after that, it was gone. Like a total different mindset put him in a different place.
that's really neat.
Like the chains are broken kind of thing. So,
I've had some, I would call them NDEs.
okay.
I feel like um, I find myself, I'm either in the crisis that's happening to me, or then I find myself standing on a beach, and it's like sunset, and there's a big dog trotting up to me, and I feel like I've seen it so many times. I never get to pet the dog. I feel like the time that I pet the dog, that'll be my indication that I've crossed over. Because I've
Wow.
always wanted to pet the dog, but I never
Yeah.
get
Wow. Do
there.
you recognize the dog?
No, it's a big, like a big golden retriever or a Great Pyrenees. I mean, it's a big dog. It's like a Great Pyrenees type, shaggy, big, happy dog.
Wow.
And I just feel like I've seen it so many times. I feel like that's what I'm going to see first. Is I'm gonna need to say hello to this dog, and then it'll show me where to go from there.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
Maybe it's my spirit animal. I don't know.
Yeah, could be. Totally.
I feel like we need to do some
We
deeper
could
dive on
dig
that.
into
But yeah,
that.
that's really
Yeah.
Yeah.
something interesting happened. My father passed away last January, and I was there in November with him, and I don't normally see spirit. I mean, I've seen some shadows and things, but like I could see my uncle standing there, and he was super young. And I was like, oh, hey. You know, it's not verbal though. It's kind of like almost like for me, it was like a feeling. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah. And I was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, watching over your dad. I'm going to cross him over. So I did tell my dad, hey, Norm's here. He's kind of hanging out. And when it's time, he'll be there with you. I just knew, you know, he was there. I saw him. I was like, it was really interesting. So I really feel like, you know, giving that information to my dad made him feel a little bit more ready to go, I'd say.
That makes sense. Yeah. Probably.
My dad's super sassy, so I feel like he's around a lot. I was talking about him the other day, and then I opened up the Instagram app, and my dad's account came up, and I'm like, I didn't even know he had an Instagram. Where did
Whoa.
it come from? So,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be a psychic to get messages.
No.
You know exactly right.
No. You're right. Yeah. I think they're all around us. It's just a matter of being aware and not doubting. A lot of people doubt. Instead of course you can't totally prove that this is from this spirit, but why not say, well, it could be? And that even kind of helps you have a connection, you know, just having that possibility that this really could be them and they really could be watching after me. I mean, that can help a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm sure it would give him some comfort. I mean, it just it I was just like, okay, hi dad. You're looking over my shoulder. I was just talking about you, and there you are on my phone. Interesting.
Yep.
Clearly, it gives you comfort.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great.
Come back for more with psychic medium Seth Michael in part 2.